Week 4 of the NFL is in the books, and we are in the trenches. So last week, I did not do very well on my picks. I was 1-2, which brings me to 6-7 on the season. It's not horrible, but below 500 is not acceptable. I gotta now scrape back up to try to get to 500 and above. Hopefully, I can do that starting this week, but starting in week 5. But let's take a look at what happened in week 4. So the first pick that I had was the Chargers going into the Giants, into New York, and the Chargers were 3-0, the Giants were 0-3. I remember even saying this is one of those games that the NFL might just flip on me because they love doing that, where a 3-0 team loses to an 0-3 team, and there you go. The Giants were starting out their new quarterback, Jackson Dart, and the Chargers just couldn't get it going, so I lost that one. The other pick was let's see. It was Indianapolis at the Rams. I picked the Rams, giving the 6.5 points. They did cover that. This was a very good game, very competitive. And then it came down to the very last drive. Well, not the very last drive, but the Rams uh, scoring that touchdown at the end and covering the 6.5 points, and I won that pick. And Indianapolis is a good team. They did very well. They could have easily won this game because there was a play where I forgot the name of the guy and probably don't want to say his name, but one of his receivers, he started celebrating and before he got to the end zone and didn't score the touchdown there. So they could have gone either way, but I'm glad it went this way because I got the one win. And then Chicago Raiders, I thought Chicago was going to win that game easily. They did squeak out a win, a 1 point win, but they didn't cover the points, so I lost that. So 1-2 puts me at 6-7. Before we go on to week 5, just want to take a look at some of these games. Washington, Atlanta, I cannot figure out them at all. They lost 30-0 last week to Carolina of all teams, and then they go in and they beat Washington. I know Washington didn't have Jane Daniels, but they still should have been able to beat Atlanta. New Orleans Buffalo went as expected. Buffalo wins easily. New Orleans actually was more competitive than most people thought, but yeah. Cleveland Detroit. Detroit once again given notice to the league. Their offense is just as good as it's been the last few weeks. They easily won that game. Carolina and New England. Carolina is another team that I can't figure out at all. They shut out Atlanta last week, 30-0, and then they go into New England and they lose 42-13. How do you do that? New England is getting better and better. It looks like they're going to be in it for a playoff spot this year. They're up to 2-2 now. Philadelphia Tampa Bay was a good game, very competitive, 2-3-0 teams. And Tampa Bay tried to do another one of their last minute wins like they have been doing the first 3 games of the season, and they couldn't pull it off this time, so they lost. Tennessee Houston, battle of two 0-3 teams, and Houston finally gets a win, and it's a shutout against Tennessee, who's is a complete rebuild. I know they have their quarterback, but it's a complete rebuild other than the quarterback. Um, Houston doesn't. It doesn't. This win doesn't mean Houston's back to competitive again. It's just one win. Jacksonville, San Francisco. This I was a little surprised. Jacksonville doing very well. They're now 3-1, I believe. Their defense is very very opportunistic. They beat San Francisco here with Brock, and San Francisco had Brock Purdy back, so that's a good win for Jacksonville. Baltimore, Kansas City. Speaking of defenses, but in this case, a really bad defense. Baltimore. They go into Kansas City. A lot of people thought that they would beat Kansas City. Nope, not even close. This 37-20 scores doesn't even show how bad this game was. That was just like Baltimore getting points at the end. I mean, Kansas City won easily. I know they got Xavier Worthy back, and so their offense was much better. But geez, they should have never. This should have been at least a competitive game. Um, then we get Green Bay Dallas. We didn't have a tie all season last year, and we get a tie already on week 4. Green Bay and Dallas, 40-40. I was very surprised at this. I thought Green Bay had this game easily against the Cowboys, and Cowboys are seem to be competitive in some games, and they're another team that I can't figure out. One game they don't show up. Next week they're very competitive against a very good team. And then the two Monday night games. You have New York, Miami, another pair of 0-3 teams playing each other. Someone had to win it, and it's the Dolphins. So the Jets go to 0-4. Same old Jets, I guess. And Cincinnati and Denver, and it's quite obvious that without Joe Burrow, Cincinnati can't move the ball at all. They managed to scrape a field goal against Denver, who does have a good defense, but come on, Cincinnati should have at least made this game competitive, and they're not going to be competitive without Joe Burrow. So it's going to be a long season for them, unfortunately for them. So that was it for last week. So coming up this week, week 5, we do have less games than first 4 weeks because the buys start hitting in week 5, and for this week it's Atlanta, Chicago, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh. They're not playing; they have buys. And so the first game that popped out at me was little trepidation. Dallas and at New York Jets, especially New York Jets, have not won a game yet. It's in New York, and Dallas is giving up 2.5 points, so I'm gonna pick them. And it could be another one of those turnaround games where the Jets finally win a game, but I think that Dallas offense is doing very well. Let's hope they just show up this week. The next pick would be Denver and Philadelphia. Philadelphia is at home. They're 4-0. They're giving up 3.5 points. Not much that they're giving up. Denver has to travel, and their defense is decent, but their offense still has not gotten back to how they were last year. So I think Philadelphia will cover the 3.5 points. And finally, we have I'm picking with some trepidation. Tampa Bay goes into Seattle. Seattle does not have the home field advantage like that home field advantage in Seattle is not as good as it has been in the last few years. I think Tampa Bay will bounce back and maybe even win this game outright, which would be an upset because Seattle's giving up 3.5 points. So I'm going to pick Tampa Bay with the points, but I think they might even win this game. So those are my 3 picks for next week. There's a couple interesting. This Kansas City-Jacksonville game should be really good on Monday night. Like I said, Jacksonville doing much better. Now Kansas City back up to 500 again. Let's see. The Jets. Any other interesting game here? I'm not sure what this Houston-Baltimore, because Baltimore does not have Jackson, their starting quarterback. This Raiders-Colts game should be good. Minnesota-Cleveland, that's going to be in London. I'm not sure how good that's going to be. I'm not sure how competitive that's going to be. Washington Chargers, that should be a good game. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, that's it for this week. For those of you who love football like I do, enjoy your games coming up, as I hope I will, and I hope to get back to 500 and above on my yearly picks. And enjoy the games, and I'll see you back here next week. Bye.